All right, so sorry, we have some power problem. Now I think it's fixed. So hopefully you will be able to rejoin the class again, right? So because of some internet failure, our Zoom broke out. So let's see. Right, so here, this is the idea, right? So I will repeat. So you pick the first component, drop the first component and take the maximum after that, and go to that place and take the subset after that, take the maximum, and then go to that place, take the maximum, go to that place, you take the maximum, so that you are picking up members of subsequences. So in this example, you can see that in this example you are taking a, so obviously the next one, xn4 is 2, right? So you can easily check that. So you can see that you are creating a decreasing sequence, right? 6, 5, 4, 2, right? So that is how you are picking a subsequence, right? So if you follow this procedure, right? So you will create a subsequence. At the same time, it is a decreasing subsequence, right? Right, so because we take maximum over smaller subsets, right? So smaller subsets, then what you get is you get a decreasing sequence, right? Right, so we get decreasing sequence. Right, so decreasing sequence. So clearly in case 1, if the sequence, if the set of sequences, the components of the sequence has a maximum after certain value, right, then clearly we are able to generate a monotonically decreasing subsequence, right? So that is right. So in case 1, this is what we do. We generate a monotonically decreasing subsequence. So now I am going to take the other case. If there is no maximum, right? So case 1, I take there is a maximum. Now case 2, I am going to say there is no maximum. Right? Suppose this has no maximum. Right? So if in case you cannot see the blackboard or whiteboard and you are just listening to the voice, what you have to do is to you leave the meeting and click on the link again and rejoin the meeting, right? So then you will be able to see the board, I believe, right? So that is how this can be fixed, right? So you just leave the meeting and then rejoin again by clicking the same link, so that you will be able to see the meeting, right? See the blackboard here, right? So suppose this has no maximum, right? If this has no maximum, then what will happen? What kind of sequence we can generate, right? So at least for one set here, for all such set, we say there is a maximum. Here, suppose that there is at least one set we have no maximum, right? Okay, so let me finish writing everything and then explain, right? So what is happening here in the second case? Okay, so I finished writing. Now I'm going to explain you with this example again. Okay, so now this time I have to make an example where I cannot have maximum, right? So here I am starting with the same kind of numbers, 1, 2, okay, 4, 7, 10, 14, some kind of an order, right? I have some kind of an order, 1, 2, so 4, 7, 10, like that, right? So I have an order. So here I'm going all the way up to infinity, right? So I have an infinite sequence. So then clearly you know that I don't have a maximum, right? So even if I drop the first term and take a subset, you know there is no maximum because it goes all the way to infinity. Even I take anything after 14, it is again going to infinity, so no maximum. So this is the second case where I cannot have a maximum. So what I do is, right, so what I do is, so after some point, I know there is no maximum, right? So here, even after the first point, I have no maximum, right? So what I do is I pick the first such component that has no, that give me a no maximum case, right? Because up to maximum, we can go through the first case. So now we go to the set where there is no maximum. So here, without any problem, I can take the first component as xn1, right? And then what I do is, right, so again, I let me change slightly. Right? So let me change the number so that you understand a little more. Right? So I say 1, 4, 3, 6, 5, 15, 11, and so on. Just change the numbers a bit, right? So there is, so that you can understand a little bit more, right? So here, okay, so after first element, I have no maximum. So I can take the first element as my first element. Here they say you go one more than that number. So that's in this case, because it is starting from the first element, I take first element as my number, right? Then I do, what I do is, after picking the first element, right? So I go after that, right? So after that, I go searching for numbers after that, right? So then when I go searching for numbers after that, I pick a number which will be larger than the first number I pick, right? So here, from here, I start searching. 4 is the first number which is larger than 1, right? So I take that as my second component. xn2 is 4. Fine. I am able to pick my second number, right? So now what I do is I go to the third number. That is where you can see what actually we are doing, right? So I pick 1 and 4. 4 is the next number I find, right? I go after 4, right? So when I go after 4, my next number is 3, right? So my next number is 3. But clearly, 3 cannot be larger than 4, right? So that is not true, right? So this is not true. 3 is larger than 4 is not true. Because according to my theory, I have to go for a number larger than my previous number. So I cannot take 3, right? 3 is not helping me. So what I do is I go to the next number, 6. 6 is bigger than 4. So I can take xn3 as 6. Right? And then I go to 6 and go after 6. So next number is 5. 5 is smaller than 6. So I cannot take 5. Right? So I go to another number. That is 15. So I can take 15. Right? So xn4 is 15. Like that, I can keep on creating a sequence. Right? So that is what written here. Right? So you pick a first component and then go beyond that component and look for the next component which is larger than this. So first possible case, or first possible candidate for that category. And then pick that and go beyond that and do the same thing. Right? So in that way, you are creating a subsequence. So clearly, you are creating a subsequence. At the same time, you can say that here it is increasing, right? So 1, 4, 6, 15, because of the nature of the structure, because you know your xn2 is greater than xn1. xn3 is greater than xn2. So obviously, increasing sequence. So you are able to create a monotonically increasing sequence in case 2. Right? Case 1, you create a monotonically decreasing sequence. Here it is monotonically increasing sequence. So that is what we wanted to show in this proposition, right? So we wanted to show that from a set of sequences, you can always create a monotone sequence. Give me a minute. சரி ஓகே 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 நாளைக்கு பார்த்து பண்ணுவோம். இன்னொரு ஆள் பண்ணணும் நான் சொல்லு. All right, so here, so what we are doing is we are creating a increasing or decreasing sequence, right? In case one, we create a decreasing sequence. In here, we create a increasing sequence, right? So this is how we do this problem. So now comes the interesting part, which is known as Bolzano-Weierstrass theorem, right? So this is the very important theorem which we are going to prove in this section, right? So not because of the proof, it is very simple, but because of the usage of this everywhere, right? You should remember the name, Bolzano-Weierstrass theorem, because later on in the problems in other mathematics courses, they will just tell, okay, because of Bolzano-Weierstrass theorem, we are saying this, we are saying this. So they are not going to say what is Bolzano-Weierstrass theorem. They will just say because of Bolzano-Weierstrass theorem. So you should understand that what we mean by Bolzano-Weierstrass theorem, right? So right, so this is called Bolzano-Weierstrass theorem. The theorem is very simple, right? So it says okay, so the theorem is very simple. Every bounded sequence has a convergent subsequence, right? Very simple line. One line, but very useful, right? So in many places, we are going to use this property, right? So every bounded sequence has a convergent subsequence. The proof is just 5 lines, right? The proof is not hard because the proof is based on what we already proved. right? In the last few classes, we proved several results about convergence and monotonicity and subsequences. So it is a combination of all the proofs. Because of all the theorems we already have, this proof is very, this proof contains just a few lines, right? So let me write the proof first and then explain you, right? So proof. And so you take a bounded sequence, right? By above proposition, Xn has a monotone subsequence, right? Okay, so this just 3 lines. If you like, you can write one more line, but just 3 lines is enough. Because it is all about what we proved already, right? So that is why we proved the monotone convergence theorem and we already proved the proposition. Right? The proposition which I just tells you says that, okay, if Xn is a sequence, then we can always create a monotone subsequence. It doesn't matter whether it is bounded or not, right? So as long as it is a sequence, we can create a monotone subsequence, right? Increasing or decreasing, it doesn't matter. So by proposition, you can create a monotone subsequence Xnr. But it was given in the theorem Xn is bounded. So obviously the subsequence is also bounded. We can also already prove that, or we already see that, right? So clearly it is bounded. So monotone, bounded. So monotone convergence theorem, again we proved in one of the previous classes. So it says convergent. Right? So then if it is an arbitrary subsequence convergent, then every monotone subsequence, so it will have a convergent sequence. Every bounded sequence will have a monotonically converging subsequence. Right? So that is Bolzano-Weierstrass theorem. Right. Now, so if the sequence is not bounded, then you know it cannot have a converging subsequence. That is clear for you. So you can see that, right? So that's not a big deal. Right? So now what we are going to do is we are going to move to another direction of convergence. Right? So first we show convergence by using the limit, right? So just finding the limit and show that it is converging. And then what we did is we did that, okay, here is a increasing sequence or decreasing sequence and boundedness. So the monotone convergence theorem comes in and then we prove convergence using that. Then what we did, we create subsequences, and then subsequence and monotone convergence theorem together give me convergence. So basically I have proved convergence. So we have proved convergence in several ways. Now what we are going to do is we are going to talk about convergence in a different perspective, right? So that is called Cauchy criterion. Right. So next section is next concept called Cauchy criterion. Right. So what do we mean by Cauchy? Right. So it is a concept called Cauchy sequences. So what we mean by Cauchy sequence? Cauchy is a name again, right? The person who find this. So what kind of sequences are called Cauchy sequences? Right. So this is little bit similar to the convergent but slightly different, right? So let me write the definition first. For every epsilon positive, there exists a natural number such that xn minus xm is less than epsilon for all n greater than m, or n comma m greater than n. So this is the difference. This part is the only difference from the limit, right? So limit you say xn minus L, here you say xn minus xm. So those are two components. So this is clearly the distance between two different components, not necessarily next to next component, but two components after a certain value, right? If the difference is small than epsilon, as small as you please, then the sequence is convergent, right? So let me show you in a picture. Right, so first I will show you the limit picture again, and then I will show you the Cauchy picture. Okay, so let me see. Right, so 1 upon n again I will take, right? So 1, 1, 2, 1 upon 2, 3, 1 upon 3, 4, 1 upon 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Right, so this is how we draw 1 upon n, right? So then what we say is, if you draw a small ball, right, of epsilon length, right, small, not ball, right, small tube of epsilon length, right, then the tail of the sequence, right, after some n, the tail of the sequence goes inside the tube, right? So epsilon you can make as small as possible, right? So if you put a tube of epsilon length at the limit of the sequence, then the tail of the sequence goes inside that epsilon tube, right? So that is the idea for limit, right? So then clearly this is 0 and this is the limit. So here what we say is, the tail of the sequence, right, stays inside the tube, but the tube is not necessarily in the limit, right? So here this is the difference. In a Cauchy sequence, right, so limit can be somewhere, right? So limit can go anywhere, right? But after some point, right, if you draw a tube, right, all the components, right, all the components stay inside the tube, right? That has nothing to do with the limit, right? The tube has no relationship with the tube, with the limit here, right? In the limit also we talk about similar tube, but in limit what we do is you put the tube around the limit and make sure that the tail of the sequence goes inside the tube. In Cauchy criteria, you put the tube just at the tail of the sequence and all the components falls inside the tube. Right? So that is the meaning of Cauchy criteria, right? Sorry, Cauchy sequence. If the tail of the sequence falls inside a tube, then we call the sequence as a Cauchy sequence. Right? So 1 upon n is a very good example of this, right? So you can see that right. So if you want to show 1 upon n is Cauchy, you know that first I will show the rough work. Next time we will see the what we mean by this, right? So you know, right, 1 upon n minus 1 upon m is less than epsilon, right? So this is what you wanted to show, right? So you can say that this is less or equal to absolute value of 1 upon n plus absolute value of 1 upon m, right? Triangle inequality, right? By triangle inequality, you can say this is less than 1 upon n plus 1 upon m, right? So n and m are natural numbers, so that's fine. So now you take for all m comma n greater than some capital N, right? Because for all m comma n greater than some capital N, you have to show this one is less than epsilon, right? So then if because m and n are greater than n, this is less than 1 upon n plus 1 upon n, right? Because 1 upon small n is less than 1 upon small capital N, right? And then similarly 1 upon small m is less than 1 upon capital M. So this is less than, or this is actually 2 upon n, right? And then what you want? You want this number to be less than epsilon, right? So you want this number to be less than epsilon. How you can make this less than epsilon, right? That is what you study in first chapter, Archimedean property, right? So now if you look, right, if you look at Archimedean property, you know that, right, any